Deck after the ship had cleared herself of water, he found out his right arm had just been pulled out from the socket. And he looked round and looked on the casing side, and there was his arm stuck in the top sheave on the casing side. And he didn't know he'd done it.
If you can imagine a ship, especially a mere trawler of 300 or 400 ton, all the structure would be covered in 2 foot of pure ice. And as you know, ice is a lot heavier than water. And what happens is the superstructure gets covered in ice, possibly 2 foot all round, and more because it attracts more water, more ice, and it freezes. And the ships get top heavy, and they just turn tail. You know, there's just no way of surviving, none whatsoever. There's no way out, no back door or anything like that.
Once again we'll steam past the flat Holderness shoreline, to round Spurn Point and make it safely home once more, to the welcoming arms of the Humber Estuary and the familiar Grimsby Dock Tower. Other loving arms no doubt await also. It was and still is inbred into all fishermen and their families, that where the sea is concerned, nothing is to be taken for granted, not even life itself. When the sea does reap its grimmer and more tragic harvest, it's worth paying tribute here to the untiring and unending labours of the men and women of the Royal National Mission to Deep-Sea Fishermen. Like the men they serve, they are of pure gold, and it's difficult to imagine how the industry could have ever managed without them. Thank God, their work goes on. It's to Hull now for one more trip before we sign off articles. For most of this trip, we'll join the skipper and crew of the Lord Willoughby, a 1949 Selby-built sidewinder, to sample again the clean, crisp air of those remote northerly regions of Bear Island, the Barents Sea, and the White Sea.
I thought I'll just go and have a look. It was a fine day, and I just thought of all the people that had passed in and out there shouting, you know, like, "So long, Charlie, so long, George, you all right, Stan?" Yeah, you know. And then you see them away into the distance going down the river, and a lot of them never came back, and a lot of them was washed overboard, a lot of them was injured. When they did come back, there was a great crowd of men. And even Esley Road, you know, the streets have gone, most of the people have gone. But somehow I still think that, you know, if you walk down there, like I have sometimes late at night, you can see these people, you know, you can feel them. You can feel them on the dock. Even though it's bare, they're there. The ghost of them. You seem to still hear their voices. No, it never come back. It was hard. It was wonderful, though.
Was once a fishing town, the houses one by one come down, and now the land lies open to the wind, where once the smoke curled from 1,000 chimneys, the square of streets close by the shore. We'll see the Iceman's cart no more, and seagulls wheel among the empty skies, where yesterday lies close around the corner. Along the silent fish dock wall. The ships that knew the northern trawl, redundant now, lie prisoned to the land, like old men clasped in nodding conversation. And you can feel the men there still, who fought the sea with craft and skill. The oilskin shades of hidden multitudes, blaspheming saints and splendid drunken heroes. And in the dying of the day, their lives are closed and filed away by faceless men who worship tidiness and never felt the Arctic kiss of winter. And when we laughed and cried to hear their tales of fortune, frost and fear, we did not dream that they would vanish soon and leave us with the singing of their story in what was once a fishing town.
Even after steaming something like 1,600 miles from the Humber, the North Pole is still another 1,000 miles away over the vast oceans of pack ice.
This was the background of the trawling industry. When my father got a ship, it was like the sun shining for about 3 weeks. Towards the end of his career, he boozed less, and he didn't carouse about so much. He wasn't such a wild lad. He went to sea till he was 65. At 65, he had a great big hernia the size of a football. He had a great big steel truss to keep it in. And he was gutting on the deck 18 hours a day at 65 in the Arctic with this enormous hernia. I don't know how he did it, but he continued to go to sea till he was 65. The wages were poor, and then they were just gradually these trawler men. It wasn't romantic. They were just thrown onto the scrap heap. They haunted the decks, the docks. They kept the bag behind the door, always ready for a trip. If they got one, it was marvellous. Most times they didn't until finally, like old soldiers, they finally put kicked the sea bag into Uncle's for 30 bob, went and got drunk on it and forgot all about being a trawlerman.
Well, one of the trips that sticks in my mind most of all was one of the trips when I first, I started fishing. It was in a ship called the DB Finn. And it was in 1965 and late in the year. And got through to Bear Island, but after 2 holes at Bear Island, you know, she started to ice up and that. I think the skipper's name was Peter Craven. So she decided to steam to go to Onisborg in Norway, which is the nearest place. And while she was steaming, she accumulated that much ice that the top of the grating, the top of the hatches and the stanchions were covered in ice, and the winch behind us disappeared in a sheet of ice in front of the bridge, and you couldn't get down the starboard side for the ice. And luckily, after so many hours steaming when we got there to Onisborg, there was reported to be 250 ton of ice on the ship after she got there. And